recording or live streaming all of our city council meetings for at least the last year, maybe longer than that, 2 years?
Several, yeah.
Several years, okay. So we've been on the air in the city council, and I have had people tell me that they've watched it and had some comments to me, and that's a good thing. But what Jane is talking about in 2025, it will be every board meeting, the park board, every one we have, the BZA, the planning, all of them's going to be recorded and live streamed, and I think that's good. So appreciate that, Jane. Thank you for bringing that up. So now roll call, please.
Mr. Austin?
Here.
Ms. Gross?
Present.
Mayor Barnett?
Present. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Okay, again, thank all you for coming. Is there any announcements or public comment that is not pertaining to the agenda? Seeing none, we will go on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the minutes October 16, 2023 Board of Works meeting and also the approval of claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
There isn't any old business. We'll go right into new business. Reduce the number of parking spots occupied for construction at 150 South Main Street and use the remaining parking spaces from 7 a.m. 11/3/23 to 7 p.m. on 12/8/23. CPM Construction, Jason Williams.
Yes, sir. Should be the last time. So that's what we're hoping. We've seen some major progress. So we lowered it to just 4, and then we really don't necessarily need that many once we get drywall fully in there. We're fully stocked on 3, 2, and 1. We have a little bit more drywall, but I just said 4 so I didn't have to come back if possible. But if we only need 2, really need 4. Yeah, we do need 4 because it's going to be a lot of trash coming through when we start taking out the drywall. So
It makes sense to me, Jason. And I want you to know, I think you guys have done a lot better job since you was here the last time, especially having your employees parked over
I'm on
by
it.
the park. I appreciate that.
yes, sir.
And I think, did Mark send you some pictures today of, Mark, did you send those pictures today?
Yes, I did, of the condition of the alley.
Yeah,
I actually took pictures on the way up here too because I wanted to ask you guys questions. I wasn't sure. What I've been told, and I don't have anything in writing, was that the city was going to asphalt that afterwards.
I
but-
will tell you that next summer, the city plans on that. However,
Yeah,
it was supposed to be, every utility that's been in there is supposed to have been backfilled by the specs.
Okay.
And I'm not sure it has. And where we have the big problem is, one of the residents has come to us
Yeah.
about the mud hole right in front of her front door, and nobody's addressed that. So I'm asking you guys to address that.
yes, sir.
And in the end, I think somebody's going to have to end up probably vacuuming out some of the stuff and putting the flowable fill back in it, and then we're simply just going to mill and overlay it.
Yeah.
I mean, but we do plan on doing that, but the temporary construction, it needs to be maintained.
Yeah, I'll look into it. And then also, in the very front, there's some, on that sidewalk that was a decorated pavement, we understand that we'll have to replace some of that too, because some of it did get damaged. I saw this morning, we're replacing brick there, so we'd have to present an idea for that, but we want to make it right, so we will.
Okay.
So,
So you saw what for brick? Say that again.
where a brick is set, where it was set before we set it up onto the
Yeah.
building.
Okay.
When they set
All right,
it down, they
gotcha.
damaged some of that decorative paving that was there for the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And so we made note of that, and we'll make it right. So,
Okay, just when you get closer, especially in the alley, you need to address the ladies that's walking through the mud to get into her house. You need to address that tomorrow. I
Okay.
mean, that's,
Which one was it? That's just the whole alleyway she lives back there?
you can see where the mud patch
I know what
is.
you're talking- yeah.
Like I said, Mark's got,
It's like
we got
4 by
pictures.
8, right?
Yeah.
I'll look at the photo and take care of
And
it.
her door is right there. I mean,
Okay.
she can't get around it.
I got you.
So,
Okay. And that was sent to my email this morning. I haven't seen my emails yet today. I've been traveling around, so.
Okay.
I'll look at that tonight.
All right, well, again, you've done a better job, and I appreciate it, and we're trying to help you get through it the best you can.
Yeah.
It's been tough, so,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
okay, so.
I'll move to approve the proposal by CPM Construction to reduce the number of parking spots occupied for construction at 150 South Main Street and use of the remaining parking spaces from 7 a.m. November 3rd through 7 p.m. December 8th.
Second. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, approval of the sign to project into the right-of-way of South Main Street at 150 South Main Street, Green Sign Company, Lauren Obendorf? Is she not here? Okay. Green signs? Yeah. Okay, just your name and what you want to do.
Okay, Kevin Sims with Green Sign.
Okay.
We're wanting to add a flag mount sign to the front of the building at 150 South.
Okay, and that's it right there?
Yeah,
and
picture of it
Joanna-
shown.
Yeah, and Joanna just stepped outside, and just to save a little bit of time, I will tell you that I was told that it fits all the criteria for the city. All we need to do is give the official approval that it hangs over in the right-of-way.
Okay.
So with that being said,
I'll move to approve the request submitted by Green Sign Company for approval of a sign to project into the right-of-way of South Main Street at 150 South Main Street, with the caveat that it be verified.
no, I take that back. I already did verify.
Oh, you did?
And
Okay.
Joanna told me this morning that everything, it fits the.
It meets our sign ordinance.
Yeah, it meets the sign ordinance.
Okay.
Yep, so you made the motion to approve. I will second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See? Okay, next one. Construction agreement for the belt filter press conveyor replacement, Wessler Engineering. Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, you accepted the bid of Maddox Industrial Contractors, or Maddox Industrial, and awarded the project to them. This is just the formal agreement or contract with them with all the other associated contract documents for review and approval, and also to issue the notice to proceed for them to begin their contract time.
I'll move to approve the construction agreement for the belt filter press conveyor replacement as presented by Wessler Engineering.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the notice to proceed as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Gary, on
Thank you.
that one. The next one, request approval of change order number 3 on the West Side Interceptor Project. Western Engineering, Monty's not here, so Sally, that's you or Gary?
Okay. Did you have questions?
Yeah. What is it?
Okay. I expected Gary to. That is, oh, hang on, I have it.
This is change order number 3. There are 5 items on it. First one is to add a drop connection inside the existing wet well at the lift station at the high school.
Commerce.
The second is some electrical changes that involved adding a disconnect and transformer, and it basically, it added a little under $14,000, but it's avoiding a $79,000 charge from Duke to run new power to that site. Third item is actually a credit, eliminating a casting and barrel section. Item 4 is actually another credit for modifications to the traffic control plan. And the last item is an addition for some storm sewer modifications or improvements on Brannigan Road by the Brannigan subdivision, where they ran into a storm sewer that manhole was paved over and nobody knew it was there. So we had to kind of modify the new storm sewer to go around it. So nothing out of the ordinary except the Duke ordeal, where actually it's a little bit of cost now, but it's saving in the long run.
So the change order is $26,524.96, which brings the total to $2,449,726.
I'll move to approve change order number 3 on the West Side Interceptor project as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, requesting permission to apply for a grant through the NRA, Police Captain Justin Stahl and Detective Cody Martin.
Evening, Justin Stahl, Captain with Franklin PD. We're just simply here to ask for permission to apply for a grant with the NRA for some training equipment, and I will let Detective Cody Martin share the rest.
Good evening. So the new revised quote came in late. We've got it, I think, late Friday, so I brought 11 copies of that with me. So whoever would like to see that, I can pass that out to you. But mainly.
Really, Cody, you just probably need the 3 here.
Thank you.
Unless Chip wants to prove it out of his budget, and I doubt it.
He does.
Yes.
Mark's got all the money.
Right. If you can get money out of Chip's budget, you're going to have to present for
All
everybody.
right, I want one
yeah.
now. I'm just kidding.
So overall, this is equipment for simunition equipment for the department. This is going to help us with doing some force-on-force training, doing some active killer training, things to help prepare us. The equipment that we have is outdated. We've got some airsoft equipment, and about half of it still actively works. So in the quote, there is, page 3 is the final numbers. It's around $9,500, just a little bit more. The grant that we're looking to apply for is not a matching grant, but they do suggest that the department put up a little bit of money to kind of entice them to take that on. So it's an Indiana state-funded grant through the NRA. So the Indiana's portion of the NRA is the one that we would be getting funded from. It's a super short application process, and the department has committed to $1,000. Correct, sir? Has committed to $1,000. So we're looking for about a little over $8,500 in this grant to apply for.
Okay, first I want to tell you guys, thank you for looking at grants, for grants, anything that we can get. I believe that saves taxpayer dollars, so I appreciate that. So I don't see a problem with doing this. I make a motion to apply for the grant that you presented to us tonight.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Revised SOP 1.13 vehicle unlocks. Deputy Chief Scott Summers.
Thank you, Mayor. So the previous version of this SOP required a written document, a hard copy paper, be filled out. We just recently had a big records room clean out of 120 boxes of papers that we no longer needed to keep. So this is kind of future-proofing this particular SOP, so we don't have hard copies laying around, but also the language in the previous version was a little convoluted and hard to follow, so we've addressed that as well. So that's the purpose of this revision.
Yeah, and Deputy Chief was kind enough to reach out to me before we got this done, and having worked with them trying to find space out there, it makes absolutely no sense to have a written hand copy for officers to fill out when everything is on body cam. And they've got it, and we have to retain that anyway. So for something like this, it just didn't make any sense to make them do 2 things, and then for us to have to store 2 things when we're typically helping a citizen unlock a vehicle.
I had to have the police department come and unlock my vehicle once. How embarrassing.
Well, then maybe we should have 2 copies of yours.
Yeah.
I've used this service a lot, too.
We don't like to advertise that
Is
service.
that it? Yeah, that's right.
I make a motion to approve the revised SOP 1.13 for vehicle unlocks for the Franklin Police Department.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Chief. Okay, next item, approval of resolution number 23-10, authorizing flexible work arrangement, including remote work. City Attorney Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the resolution itself kind of speaks for itself. As we all know, Mr. Richards has relocated his principal residence in Kentucky, but he is instrumental in several of the ongoing projects, public works projects that we have, and in getting a lot of the money and the grants that we need. So he discussed with the mayor that he would be willing to continue to work and will be here on site, but his residence technically is not in the state of Indiana. That caused me to do some research, reached out to the State Board of Accounts, reached out to the state of Indiana, and there's absolutely nothing wrong, so long as we have a defined provisions. There's nothing wrong with having this kind of a remote work agreement. In fact, the state of Indiana does it for some of their key players and principals, and they encourage it. I think that's one of the things that maybe came out of the pandemic, that a lot of times that they were doing that. So I took what I felt were most of the key points that the State Board of Accounts would be looking to. That is obviously that we are making sure that we are accounting for the time, just as we would do with anybody else, that our employee is available when it is, that the work done at home is work for the city and not work individuals. So with that, I did reach out to Mr. Richards to review it before presenting it to you, and I believe he has indicated that he is comfortable with all of these provisions. He will be attending our meetings, he will be attending those things. So with that, I'll turn it over, Mark, if you want to have anything to add. I did get a comment from Member Gross that maybe we needed to change that one language in there, that you would not have any meetings in person at your residence. You clearly have meetings online and things, so I just made that one little change to it, and I've got a revised one here, Jane, to meet, that I brought with me tonight. But other than that, it's ready for your action tonight.
And that's really more for Mark's
Protection.
protection than it is for the city protection, so.
Yep. And I want to thank you, Mayor and Lynn, both for your efforts in getting this approved or getting it presented for approval. I look forward to continuing this relationship.
Well, and we don't have to talk about this a whole lot tonight and tell Mark how great he is, but Mark, we do appreciate what you do. And you do.
Small doses.
Yeah, yeah. Just for an example, a lot of people, like, Mark goes after these grants, just like I've told the police department, I appreciate you going after the grants. I think, Mark, you just come up with one for the sidewalk project. You worked with NDOT to get about 500,000, 550, something like that for that one. And then we just got the rest of our community crossings grant that's right at $250,000 that you worked on. So I appreciate what you do and what you can do from your home there. And pick the phone up. I was talking about this today. I call Mark all hours of the night, call Mark at Sundays and Saturdays, and you're really never really upset about it. It doesn't seem like, anyway. Maybe you are. Maybe you have to throw the phone down and tell your wife. I wish you quit calling me.
She's here.
Well, you can ask her.
We can get that on the
Oh,
record.
sorry, Gail. So anyway, that's that on that one.
Mark, we appreciate you answering the call, too, bud.
Go ahead.
I'll move to approve resolution number 23-10, authorizing flexible work arrangement, including remote work.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item.
Jane, and Jane, would you go ahead and circulate the one I previously gave to you, and I just swap out the page? Did you just draw, okay. Did you draw a line on the signature page? Because it's sitting on my desk, so I'll bring the other ones over. That's right, and then I'll, it's only two words, and it will not change the signature. That way we don't have to track these folks down tomorrow. So, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor.
No, it's great. Next item, request the following performance letters of credit and agreements to be released and replaced with the following maintenance bonds to be accepted for Cumberland Trace Section 2.
So these are the remaining performance letters of credit and agreements to be released and replaced with maintenance bonds. I did receive a question of kind of outlining what all of this entails. So when the subdivision is developed, the performance bonds are calculated at 120% the cost of the improvement, that should the developer not install it correctly at the time that or it's under construction, at the time we record the plat, it would be a performance bond. When they are transferred to maintenance bonds is when the improvements have been installed and they have met all inspections, either as-built or field verification that they meet our standards. In this regard, they are performance letters of credit, And with those letters of credit, we also require them to execute the agreements. Those agreements actually outline the language that we normally have in our bond form, so that just provides that level of assurance that, yes, here's the money that is secured for the improvements should they not be installed, and the city has to install them. But then it also states that they agree to install them per plan. So we do have Cumberland Trace, Section 2 through 4, with the following performance letters of credit and agreements to be released. For Section 2, letter of credit 01, let me see, there we go, 0155457550-7 for street surface, $35,280. For Section 3, letter of credit 0155457576-11, street surface for $23,256. Letters of credit 0155457576-3, streets, binder and stone, $144,354. And Section 4, letters of credit 0155457592-12, street surface, $16,280, or $16,278. And letter of credit 0155457592-3, streets, binder and stone, $101,046. Those are all ready to be released. And then be replaced with the following maintenance bonds. For Section 2, bond number 254219, street surface, $7,350. Section 3, bond number 254220, street surface, streets, binder and stone, $34,918.75. And Section 4, bond number 254221, street surface, streets, binder and stone, $24,442.50.
So the motion would need be to release the performance letters of credit and agreements and to accept, two separate motions, and to accept the maintenance bonds. I would also add that we went to allowing letters of credit, which essentially what that means is the developer goes to their lending institution or whoever gives them money and gets the lending institution to guarantee payment in the event that they do not do the payment. The reason that they like to do that, if they're fiscally sound, and usually large operations are, they'd rather do that than buy a bond, which costs money to buy a bond. The developer doesn't eat that cost. It ends up getting passed on to the owner or to the property owners. So if we could do something that saved the developer money and they didn't pass it on to the people who are buying the homes, that was just as well, and we've always been protected with that. So that's why we opted to include this in, if you will, in our arsenal of things available to a developer, in addition to bonds, also letters of credit, because the money's still there to be able to get if, in the unlikely event, they don't do what they're supposed to do.
So let me make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. So they're pretty much buying an insurance policy? Is that-
Essentially, they're providing an insurance policy
to us.
to us.
Yes.
So,
In case they
Don't do.
don't do what they're supposed to do
so
down the
for
road.
example, if we get into the season where they, asphalt plants close and they can't put top coat on, the performance bond for the streets would be provided. And then if it's, 2 years down the road, top coat doesn't get put on, we've, reached out to them to go ahead and get that done. They continue to refuse. We can actually pull that letter of credit or bond amount and do it ourselves.
And we have.
Okay.
It usually happens when you have a developer who goes bankrupt.
Yep.
And we had a lot of that in 08, 9, or 10, right in that particular area. And hence, one of them is a performance. If you haven't done it yet because of whatever factors, this guarantees that you will perform, and that's why we have it 120% in
Okay.
case there's any inflation. Once you've got it done, they inspect it, you've approved inspection agreements. Then we have a maintenance that says if it's failed, is it usually 10 years? Am I correct, the maintenance bond? Or is it 4?
2 years.
2 years, is it 2 years? Then there's a maintenance bond that's put in place after the performance bond is released. That's why we're,
sorry,
or
3
letters
years.
of credit. Is it 3 years, Joanna?
years.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a maintenance bond that says, okay, and if you performed it, we release the performance bond, and then a year from now, your top coat fails, because it hasn't been maintained appropriately, then we use that to go back in and do that fix. So that's why, two
Okay.
things, perform it and then maintain it.
So the 34,000, 4,918 amount, that's what they're paying to have this bond?
No, that's what
No.
that's what they are guaranteeing will be available. If
Gotcha.
they were doing a performance bond, they would go out and buy a $37,000 bond and turn it over to us. They give it to Joanna, I read it and make sure it names us as somebody who could call on that bond. What I was referring to is, we have also allowed developers, instead of doing an actual bond where they go out and buy it and pay money for it, to give us a letter of credit from their financial institution where we could just go to the financial institution and get the same money.
Okay.
That doesn't cost them generally as much, there's usually a fee, but that doesn't, we still have the same kind of security. And if they're paying for a lot of bonds, that cost simply gets passed on to the individual landowners. And that's why we did it, quite frankly, to give them another option rather than bonding for things that they
And
were
the
going to do.
legislators have a say in some of this, right?
Oh, I mean, letters of credit are available. That's one of the things that are available to a developer. And again, as long as we are secure, whether we get it from a lending institution or whether we get it from a bondsman, doesn't really matter. And if we can save our homeowners some money, then that seemed to be the appropriate thing to do.
And the
Okay.
maintenance bond is in the amount of 25%, the estimate of cost to construct. So if it was estimated that the curbs were going to be $100,000, a maintenance bond would be $25,000.
Okay.
Because they've already put them in.
Yeah.
They've already put them into our standards.
Okay, so the maintenance is probably not going to exceed 25%?
Right.
Okay,
So if the
Hopefully not.
sidewalks were $100,000, we would require a performance bond of $120,000. And once we released it after inspection, we would require a maintenance bond of $25,000.
okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
I will move to approve the conversion of the letters of credit and agreements be released, and for those to be replaced with maintenance bonds for Cumberland Trace as presented by Joanne Tennell.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item. Request the following performance bonds to be released and replaced with the following performance and maintenance bonds, along with maintenance rider to be accepted for West Wind at Cumberland, Section 1, Senior Planner Joanna Tennell.
Good evening. This is a little bit of a different circumstance. The same things are at play. Performance bonds being released, maintenance bonds being accepted. There is one performance bond that is being released for earthwork and erosion control that will be replaced with a performance bond for earthwork and then a maintenance bond with erosion control, because they're splitting those two improvements into separate bonding. And then in this particular case, there's also a maintenance bond rider, which is the first time that we've presented one of those here at Border Works. What that essentially is doing is it's keeping that bond that we originally accepted in place, but it's modifying the amount from what it was previously amount was for the lower amount. So the performance bonds that are requested to be released is 47SUR 3002140100570, street trees, landscaping, and street lights, $128,100. 4172327, earthwork and erosion control, $237,161.46. Performance bond 4172328 for streets, $546,064.20. 47SUR 3002140100573, sidewalks, $336,727.20. And 4172329, survey monuments and signs, $28,260. Performance bond requested to be accepted is number 5361314, earthwork, $207,000. $1,852.66. Maintenance bonds to be accepted. Bond 5072866 for erosion control, $6,106. 5072865, streets, $113,763.38. 5072867, sidewalks, $28,146.50. 5072868, survey monuments and street signs, $5,516.25. And then the maintenance bond rider requested to be accepted is for existing maintenance bond number 41723330, storm sewers, swales, and under drains. Approval to change the bond amount from $84,314.35 to $82,902.30.
I'll move to approve the performance bonds be released and replaced with the performance and maintenance bonds, along with the maintenance rider to be accepted for West Wind at Cumberland, Section 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Joanna.
But on the bond rider, there's nowhere for a signature.
It's,
Correct.
because
We're
there's
just
already a
gonna-
bond, we're just modifying the amount. That's why it's a rider, yes,
So we'll just have to attach that to
to the
the
existing
original.
bond. Yeah, it just went down from 84 to 82.
Okay, thank you. Request approval of quotes for generators at City Hall and Parks and Rec Center. Street Commissioner, Fleet Manager Brett Jones.
Thank you, sir. I believe sometime midsummer, shortly after the unfortunate incidences in Whiteland, we sort of had a aha moment here locally and realized that we had two very important buildings here in the city that are not currently protected with backup power. One being, of course, here at City Hall, which is important, obviously, for a lot of reasons, but IT and our servers being one of the most important. Second to Mark and Steve being officed here, of course.
I caught that, Brett.
I like that.
Yeah. And then also the rec center, because it is our designated storm shelter here in the city. So probably should be relatively important to have backup power if it's designated as such a facility. So began working on this project. I don't profess to be an expert in all things electricity, but started with working with Duke on trying to understand what our peak power requirements are at both facilities. And then based on our current inventory of backup generators, I reached out to Cummins. I think we have almost 7 or 8 other backup generators working throughout the city that are also Cummins branded products. So obviously that makes a lot of sense from our perspective for maintenance and service. Also, we were able to quote this through the Sourcewell relationship and membership that we have, which, as I think you've heard the story before, but it's similar to a QPA, but it's a nationally recognized governmental price discount that's offered. So that is why we, at this time, have only reached out to one vendor. Ms. Gross, thank you for the question. Since I sent you a response, also have had a discussion with Ms. Gray, and really the request tonight is to move forward, if you so choose, with the purchase of the generators, and we will come back and quote the installation part. But mainly I wanted to provide you, I think I used the word price discovery, but I wanted to give you guys a full understanding of what this project was going to cost and not be surprised if we move forward with the generators and then realize later that it's almost as expensive to install them as it is just to purchase them. So I wanted to do due diligence and make you all aware so we didn't have any surprises later. So in my conversations with Ms. Gray, it's basically 2 asks, but again, I wanted to give you some understanding of the potential scope and cost of this overall project. So if you're so inclined, I would suggest that we move forward with the acceptance of the quotes for the generators themselves, which unfortunately have about a 34-week lead time. So we have ample time to, to move forward at a later date. And I would suggest we wait a little closer to time because, as you saw in Mr. Davis's quotes, some of this is up in the air, as with all things, wire and material is, who knows what it's going to cost in 26 weeks from today or more. But so that is my recommendation. If you so choose, and if you have questions, just the basic gist of it is smaller unit, a 60 kW unit here for City Hall. It would actually be a natural gas powered unit because it unfortunately would go on the southwest corner of this building because that's where the power comes in. So from an aesthetics perspective, natural gas is also right there. So we feel like it would be wise to use a natural gas unit. We'll just tie into the natural gas line. It'll get rid of the fuel tank portion of a genset. So it'd be a lower profile unit, hopefully a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. It's still going to be a generator in the front yard, but I think we can work with the Parks magicians on planting flowers and other things and try to hide it as best we can. The unit that we quoted for the Parks and Rec is quite a bit larger unit. It will be a diesel powered unit. I don't think hooking into natural gas makes a lot of sense there. And then aesthetically, it would also be on the southeast corner of their building. But in conjunction with the street department, we'll work to pour the pads, do any of that kind of work so that we're not totally bearing all of that cost. It would be sort of an all-in effort from us. There would have to be, coordinated shutdowns with Duke, but we will move forward with quoting the installation services at a later date.
And we are looking to fund it out of the CCD fund.
Correct. Yeah, CCD funds out of the 2024, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have any other questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you for that explanation. I think it's great that you're doing this. We definitely need to be ready to go for any kind of crisis situation. I will move to approve the quotes for the actual generators at City Hall and the Parks and Rec Center, with the caveat that once we get closer to the delivery date, we would also solicit at least 3 quotes for the installation of these generators.
Okay, I would second that motion. I just, before we vote though, I just want to add, the equipment cost for City Hall is $31,018.18. And for the community center, the equipment, the generator is $63,355.13. So I did second the motion, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, approval of interlocal agreement with Whiteland for construction of a roundabout at Paul Hannon Graham Road, Community Development Specialist, Krista Linke.
Yes, so this has been brought to you before, but for an agreement with Johnson County. Same roundabout intersection, it was approved at that time. And then this revision was taken to Whiteland, changed a little bit. Their dollar amount is on, and the dates were changed. Those are really the only changes. So page 8 has that they will be contributing $750,000 through 3 different installments, one starting at the end of this month. They've already reviewed this. Steve and I, Mayor and I presented it to their redevelopment commission, and they approved it and have signed it. And so it is just awaiting your review and approval.
And I'm pretty excited about this one, just because of the agreement with Whiteland and the county. I just think it shows good stewardship for our dollars and working together to get something done. So I'm kind of proud of this one right here.
I did attach the agreement with the county after the one with Whiteland, so you could see both of them. So they're both on there, and the one with the county has been recorded and filed.
And if things go as planned, when Whiteland said, has indicated their last payment, that's about the time that we'll be finishing up the project. So the timing is perfect.
I'll move to approve the interlocal agreement with Whiteland for construction of a roundabout at Paul Hand and Graham Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, request approval of the 2024 Johnson Memorial Hospital Wellness Program Service Agreement. Clerk Treasurer Jane Rhodes.
Yes, sir. Lynn, want to put anything in? It is the same contract that we do every year for them. $10,000 is the base price for them to administer it. And then, of course, we do have the cost, which is around $7,000 more that we pay them for all the physicals and stuff at our wells.
And I'll,
No changes.
okay, and I'll just add, Tina hasn't been here over the years of talking about this program and approving it several years now. But it notably, people can see the difference when it first, from when it started on our health cost. Helping keeping people healthy saved us a lot of money, and I think we've got record of that really with, over the years can show that, so.
And it is to be signed by the mayor.
And that's particularly apropos, given the amount of self-insurance we are. I mean, we have to pay the first up to $4 million, I think it is. So anytime we can prevent a major event through a wellness program, not only is it good for our employees and their families, it's good for us fiscally. So it's paid for itself over the years.
It has. In a large way.
I'll move to approve providing authorization for the mayor to sign off on the 2024 Johnson Memorial Hospital Wellness Program Service Agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, request approval of the 2024 provisions of services contract for the Boys and Girls Club, Franklin Education Connection, Johnson County Senior Services, Discover Downtown Franklin, Girls, Inc., Helpline of Johnson County, and Leadership Johnson County. These are contracts that the city council approves in the agenda when we go over when we set our budgets. And it's already pre-approved, and this is simply pre-approved by the council for the funding. And this is just for the, if we as the board choose to use those dollars for this. So that's where that's at. Any other questions, Tina?
No, I would just ask that for the ones that reference an Exhibit A that is not attached, that reference be omitted.
And that's a good point, and I think Jane and I have talked about taking that out. And what used to happen, and I'll, just for transparency here, used to every single year, and I was on the council there, and Kenny seen it, they would come in and they would give a presentation, and it was the same presentation every year, and that's what they were using the money for, is to help with run their operations, the Boys and Girls Club, and it just got monotonous, and we thought, that takes about 30 minutes to do that, so we just decided if the council approves it and we approve it, and the amounts, it's on there, the amounts. I know we give Helpline in the approval from the council, $3,000, Senior Services, $15,000, Boys and Girls Club, $26,000, Girls, Inc., $22,000, Access Johnson County, $8,500, Discover Downtown Franklin, $20,000, Franklin Education Connection, $1,000, Leadership Johnson County, $2,000, Aspire JCDC, that's the old JCDC, $30,000. So that is in other services and charges in the Board of Works contract.
One other thing I would point out, for years, we also do, the idea behind these is these are all nonprofits that serve Franklin residents. So the idea behind developing the program was, for instance, Girls, Inc. offers the $50 a year daycare. That's the wrong way. After-school care, it's not daycare. After-school care for citizens, which allows a lot of our a lot of our citizens to have after-school care for their kids before they get home, and you don't have kids staying at home. So that was the idea, that it's good for our citizens. So we've done these for years. One of them we also do is the Access Johnson County that we've always done for years. And you'll note they always stop out here in front of the courthouse and they provide services. Access Johnson County, because of the growth of our population, after the last census, now has to fall within the federal transportation guidelines. So all of their funding must be marshaled through the county. So the county gets the funds and then the county disperses it, because there are several reporting requirements once you get to be a community of the size of Johnson County. So we won't be giving directly the money to Access Johnson County like we used to. We will give it to the county through a resolution. You may recall we did it last year at the end, a resolution where they promised to use it for Access Johnson County on our behalf. So that's the reason you don't see them this year as you have every other year.
I'll move to approve service contracts for the Boys and Girls Club, Franklin Education Connection, Johnson County Senior Services, Discover Downtown Franklin, Girls Inc., Hope Line of Johnson County, and Leadership Johnson County, as presented.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And just real quick, I always like to make it public that the Boys and Girls Club, city owns the building. They lease it for a year to the Boys and Girls Club. We pay their utility bills and all their expenses, so I'm kind of proud of that one as well. So, okay, moving on to the next one. Request approval of the PSA with USI Consultants Incorporated for design of replacement of the Forsyth Street culvert over Hurricane Creek. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a design contract for replacement of the existing two-barrel culvert at Forsyth Street near the Duke Energy substation. This is, the amount of this contract is $299,950. That's a not-to-exceed amount with USI Consultants, Inc. They will be looking at some additional culverts and bridges, both upstream and downstream, to do a hydraulic and hydrologic analysis of the watershed. That will tell them how large this new culvert has to be. It's likely to be a three-sided box culvert. There's also quite a bit of utility coordination that's going to happen. We have a trail crossing right in that vicinity, and we have the Duke Energy substation to deal with. So there's some challenges with this one, but it's a project that the mayor has talked with the county about assisting with funding. The county has turned over bridges and culverts to the city within our jurisdiction. So prior to that, I think the mayor had some conversations with the county about paying for the replacement of this culvert, but situation's changed a little bit.
Right, so the conversation I've had with the county since they have taken, they're using those funds now, the bridge funds, and taking that away and put it back on the cities and towns. And they figure the edit tax would help pay for that. But this particular one, about at least 4 or 5 years, I've been talking to Commissioner Baird and Commissioner Walls about this one because it is in bad shape. And they said since we brought it to their attention several years ago that they're willing to do what they have to do to help us get past this one.
And this culvert is really in the worst condition of any in the city. So this is the main one that needs to have some attention.
I'll move to approve the PSA with USI Consultants Incorporated for design of replacement of the Forsyth Street culvert over Hurricane Creek.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item, request acceptance of request for temporary construction easement by NDOT for the US 31 corridor project and authorize for mayor to sign on behalf of the board. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Thank you, Mayor. This project, I think everyone's very familiar with. NDOT is in the process of acquiring the right-of-way that's needed. This is right-of-way that's located at the police department, street department, and city court building up on the north side of town. And NDOT needs temporary right-of-way to construct the project. They don't need any permanent right-of-way, so they're not really permanently acquiring any right-of-way from us. The amount of compensation that they're offering is $1,000. Once the construction is complete, the easement goes away, so they lose any rights to what they would need for construction. And one remark that I noticed in the offer packet is that the compensation is adjusted to NDOT's minimum amount. So it's likely really worth less than that to them, but they set a minimum amount that they offer for compensation on in cases like this. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
What do you do with those funds? Like, what happens to the $1,000?
I don't handle the money.
It'll most likely just go
The general
General
fund.
fund.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll just go in the general fund and it could be appropriated.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the request for temporary construction easement by NDOT for US 31 corridor project and authorize Mayor Barnett to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And Mayor, I will let you know there are 4 places here that you need to sign and date. There's a couple places that have a notarized tab on them, so we'll get that notarized. And then there's a page near the end that I've kind of hidden the tabs, so you won't sign those by mistake. But it's a form that I think Ms. Rhodes has to sign and send a W-9 and also provide banking information.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item, request ratification of approval by Mayor Barnett of amendment to the NDOT LPA Project Coordination Agreement to increase federal funds amount. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Thank you, Mayor. As Mayor Barnett said earlier, this is the additional funding that we've received for the East Jefferson Street pedestrian project. Our funding level was about $642,000 prior to this amendment. This will increase that amount of funding to just over $1.1 million. It's $1,101,270.73. This means that the city's obligation for local funding will be about $51,000 for this project.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that one is amazing.
It's amazing.
And you know, we're looking at the one right above that where NDOT's giving us $1,000 for the easement, and we're wondering if that's enough, and then they give us $1 million for a project. Okay, it's enough. Yeah. Yeah, so, thank you, Mark, for working on that. I mean, I think it's been, I know we've talked about this project, Kenny and I, with residents for 4 or 5 years
At
trying to get
least.
this done, so looking forward to it.
I'll make a motion to ratify the approval by Mayor Barnett of amendment to NDOT LPA Project Coordination Agreement to increase the federal funds amount.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, request acceptance of temporary and permanent sanitary sewer easements for Phase 2 of the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptors. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Yes, we continue to acquire easements for this project. We have a temporary construction easement and a permanent sanitary sewer easement that is with Centerline Farm LLC. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I don't have any questions.
I'll make a motion to accept the temporary and permanent sanitary sewer easements for Phase 2 of the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mark. Next item's under other business. I will make a motion to approve the request to file liens on unkept property that is presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, I'll make a motion to approval of the 2024 meeting schedules. I will say, with that being said, we did have a question about having the meeting on the 2nd of January this morning. I know that's going to be, but it's January 2nd. Holiday's over, you go to work, and that's what it is. So anyway, and I know, and what brought that up, we're going to have a new clerk treasurer come in January 2nd, be her first day at work, and it's going to be kind of probably drinking from a fire hose, but I think the agenda, as Jane and I talked today, the agenda and everything's going to be set and ready to go, and
It's never too much, but
yeah, we try to organize, yeah, we
Way to
like to
go.
organize and get the, all the officers in place and that sort of thing. So anyway, I make a motion to approval of the 2024 meeting schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We got time for department reports. Chip, you got something?
The ice skating rink starts on November 16th, so
Awesome.
lace up your ice skates.
Nothing like
Ready to go.
70-degree weather, makes you want to go ice skating.
You got it. I agree, that's all.
Deputy Chief?
Yeah, Mayor, we're excited to be swearing in 2 lateral transfers tonight, which I mentioned earlier in the department head meeting. This will bring us up to our allotted budget amount of police officers. We're still short 8 people on the road because of training and medical conditions, but we have them all on the door now.
Good job.
Yeah, excited about that, thank you.
Chief?
This is move-out week for Station 21, to start the new construction next week.
Awesome. Thank you. Sherry?
I don't, thank you.
Rick?
Nothing, sir.
Not tonight.
Brett?
Nothing, sir.
Mark?
Just one thing, Community Crossings announcement was made on Friday. The city was awarded $258,120.94, which covers the balance of the unused funds that we had from the first call of Community Crossings. So we're going to do a mill and overlay on Earlywood Drive from US 31 to Graham Road, and then we'll also do full depth patching and a mill and overlay on Umbarger Lane from King Street down to the south end of the Armory.
Good job. So to explain that, Mark's a little bit smarter than a lot of these other cities. There's a lot of cities and towns, they don't apply for the first round, and I shouldn't tell the secrets there. And then when you don't use all the funds, you don't have another opportunity. So Mark files in the first round, applies in the first round. We got the funds, but we wasn't able to use them all after it went through the bidding process. You never know how that's going to go. So the money goes back to the state, and then we reapply for the second round. You get 2 rounds a year. So there's very few towns and cities that do it that way. So I don't know if we got lucky and figured that out, or if it,
Well, it seems to work.
it works. So
Yeah.
thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
Sally?
Yeah, I have a couple things. November's a big month for us. We went live on the West Side Interceptor. We removed the pumps from the Brannigan Creek Lift Station, so it's now gravitating through the new line. The old lift station has not been upgraded completely yet, but that's very soon. And at the wastewater treatment plant, they should set those screens later this month. They're very close on that as well.
Okay, thank you for the update. Jane? Tina?
I would just like to thank Mark for his willingness to stay on board and finish out some of these projects that would be hard for a new person to step into.
That's true, too.
Thank you.
Ken?
Ditto what Tina said about Mark. Thank you.
Ken?
Mark who? Oh. Don't want him to get the big head. No, I don't have anything, sir.
Tara, do you got anything to add? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in